Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bad Takes podcast. I'm Joe Payne, Political Payne, here with my co-host, J. Andrew World. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking forward to getting canceled tomorrow.
Oh boy, that's we'll hear more about that. But let's welcome on our guests. Many in the audience, as there are several already, may know him from the This Is Revolution podcast. It's of course Jason Myles. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Doing great.
There he is.
Doing great.
Man, I'm honored.
On the stream.
You're cucking us on our own show at the soundboard, just like you did Sam Cedar. It's a beautiful thing. Let's welcome also our other guest, Rayyvana, to the show. Hello, Rayyvana. Hey.
Hi.
And the name of your show, you bet. And the name of your show is
Reactions on
Reactions.
2IT. I also do my own stream on Twitch, though.
Very cool. Well, thanks
And
again.
occasionally you can catch her on the main show too, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There you
I'm
go.
Also streaming this on all the This Is Revolution channels.
What a guy! What a guy! We're guests on This Is Revolution channel
some
right
people
now.
said they missed the call-in tonight. We had a call-in segment, so I just got done doing Pascal's show where he just yells for an hour.
Yep. Mr. Slaw said so. Yeah, I was listening to it as I was finishing up at work. It was some good stuff, man. Really good stuff. But we're here today to talk about the 1985. This was Jason's idea, I'll say. What do you guys call this? Screwball dark comedy? Shitty 80s? What,
Wow.
80s trash film?
Wow.
I
don't like all the hate.
I'm not hating. I'm just
I put this in like this weird trilogy that Cusack did in the 80s. You had this movie, One Crazy Summer, and Tapeheads. All came out like right in a row.
That's right. We did Tapeheads already.
We already did Tapeheads on this channel.
Yeah.
But they're kind of thematically linked. I feel like they're not quite mainstream, but they're certainly wonderfully odd.
Someone says it's like drunk John Hughes.
Yes.
To me, it's like watching if you like kind of how silly Family Guy is or Simpsons or something like that. It's like watching that in real life form because he does mix a lot of elements. Apparently, this is his first film. This is Savage Steve Holland's first film. Is Better Off Dead.
Yep. Did you hear the story about how this got produced? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because he made a short film which was supposed to be a drama about his high school love dumping him, and everybody thought that was the funniest thing they've ever seen. And so, believe it or not, the Fonz himself, whatever his name is, Fonzie. He's calling right now to complain that I forgot his name. Sorry, Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler's the best. Don't you dare.
Yes. Sorry, Henry Winkler. But he saw the movie and it's like, this needs to be produced, and helped get Savage Steve Holland into the meetings to the right people to make Better Off Dead. And that's kind of how we got this. Now, I've never seen My 11th Birthday Party, which I'm sorry, Savage Steve. I apologize. I really want to see it. You don't have to call. It's that was kind of the genius behind it. And then, like I said, we got this wonderful movie, and it kind of began, his first three movies, which his third one was a complete flop. Like the other two didn't do well, and the third one just, how it was like something about college. I've never seen it. I can't find it. So I've been looking for it for years.
Rayyvana, what was your just first impression of this movie? Had you seen it before?
I had, actually. I was really, really excited that you were doing this episode because I love Better Off Dead. It was a movie that my partner kept wanting to watch together, and we finally did it. It was a very pivotal movie to our relationship. It's very dramatic. We're both very unlucky people, and bad things happen to us constantly, and it's just like canonically part of our lives and very funny. So to see someone like that aspect of our lives mirrored in Jon Cusack's character was amazing. Also, Jon Cusack is just a cool ass dude, and I've seen him several times before in Chicago. He's always here. He's always doing stuff, very involved. So I like all his movies. But yeah, I really do like this movie. It's very ridiculous, but his so like being over dramatic is just, I like that on the character. So I quite enjoyed it.
I remember the first time I saw this. I was it was a Saturday where I wasn't actually doing anything, and I was in high school. And what I usually do is I turn on the TV on Saturday to whatever channel shows the movies and just draw. If I'm not doing anything. So I just finished up probably a Schwarzenegger film because that's usually what they showed, or some dumbass 80s action flick. And the next film that was coming on after it was Better Off Dead. It was like, this high school student gets dumped and decides he's better off dead. I'm like, this sounds lame. But I was like so in the zone, I didn't get up and change the channel. And the movie starts, and I have a bad habit of reading credits. I also read liner notes to albums I buy. So like I know all these weird facts because of that. And I saw the name Savage Steve Holland, and I recognized it because I loved Eek the Cat, which was this amazingly insane show, where they had this cat that just is kind of oblivious, that's like the hero and has these weird adventures, and the show like it's stacked with talent because like Bobcat Goldthwait's a voice, William Shatner was a regular, Mr. T was a regular on the show, so like this just the best talent right there. And so I'm just like, okay, fine, I'll give this movie a chance. It sounds stupid, but whatever. Let's watch this kissing movie, and it was just because it was just so odd. It is such a strange little film. I was hooked. I was, when Mr. X from the X-Files shows up and says, "Damn shame when white folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that," or whatever the line is. It's like I was sold at that point.
Were you like cognizant when this came out? Did you see it when it came out, or were you?
No, this is years later. I was in high school at the time,
okay.
so I was kind of honestly, high school's a good time to watch the movie because you kind of relate to Jon Cusack. I mean, I wasn't a nerd, but I wasn't exactly popular.
Yeah. Yep. That's why you had to get a fancy car, and we'll get into some of the weird stuff in this movie, but let's check out the trailer really quick, everybody. Jason will be back in a second. I know there's probably a bunch of people watching on his channel like, where the hell are This Is Revolution guys? Jason's here with us, but he's taking a quick break, but we're gonna watch the trailer to this movie so everybody, you get a bit of an idea.
He's got to deal with Henry Winkler.
Yeah, he's got to deal with that. So, but we're gonna watch this trailer and let's kind of just get a vibe, catch the vibe of this film here. So,
does it ever feel like everyone's got more going than you do?
Oops.
That everyone is smart?
So you're Al Myers' kid?
Yes, I am.
You look pretty stupid to me.
Thank you.
You say the best skier in town just ran off with your girlfriend? Even your younger brother does better than you do? And that nobody even cares?
Beth broke up with me.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, you might be right. But remember one thing.
I haven't even been to New York City.
Nobody was ever better off dead.
The truth is, I could outski you any day of the week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you want a race? I'll take you on any day, sucker.
Go that way, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
All you need is guts.
All right, now turn.
I'm gonna race, I'm gonna lose, and I'm gonna die in that order.
Go.
And you'll never doubt yourself again.
He's skiing on one ski.
Better off dead.
And that's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
An abnormal look at a normal teenager.
Are you seeing?
well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that fun?
I loved this movie from the first time I saw it. For me, as an awkward kid in Richmond, California, the character of Jon Cusack kind of resonated with, my bad luck with bad luck with the opposite sex.
I thought you were going to say car trouble, but
no. I loved, all the silliness in that movie, because if you think about this era of 80s movies and you tried to say, not try, but you said the term slapstick, And if you think about movies that were coming out in this era, like Porky's, and there were a ton of ski movies that came out in this era as well. That were like wacky, just opportunities to show boobs. Right? That's all it is. It's like, what? How can we show more boobs? This movie, you think you're gonna get boobs and weird dick yanks like Porky's and The Last American Virgin and all that other stuff, but you don't. You kind of get a little bit of a heartwarming story, right? The silly neighbor who has a very frightening infatuation with who he thinks is a non-English speaking French woman, kind of saves the day. She can fix the car. She can ski.
Yeah. Can speak English when she wants to out of nowhere.
I love Ricky's mom.
Yes.
How do you not love Ricky's mom? How do you not love the family dynamic, right? Because at some point we always feel like outcasts within our own family. Ooh. And Cusack, the character that he plays, Lane Meyer, is such an outcast in his own family. He's an outcast at school. He's friends with pretty much an extension of the Booger character from Revenge of the Nerds, just not as raunchy. You know, Revenge of the Nerds comes out a year before this, which is Revenge of the Nerds is like really, really that
fucked
movie
up.
Can't be made.
That movie's fucked up.
It can't be made. It can't be made.
Not anymore.
All these movies, this movie can't be made anymore. You're not going to get the green light on a film like this even. I don't think it's easy to follow. And what was interesting is I went back and watched. I tried to find it and not finding it. I found reviews of it from people that are like my age, like in their 40s, that had never seen it.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting because this was so big on cable. You know, the world will tell you this. If you had cable,
there she is.
80s,
so good.
You know, she stole the show with 2 scenes, right?
Didn't she? Yeah. Didn't she?
And exploding with, not even in one of them, because you just see the explosion from the outside.
E.G. Daily, who is every voice of every cartoon character. The dad, who's a dude from MASH, does a great job at being the concerned, stern, yet just out of touch father.
Yes, lawyer dad.
I love the fact that he had the book like open in front of him. He'd like peek in there and be like, what's happening?
The suburban problems that were such a big deal to his father that, really weren't that big of a deal. And then,
his mom.
I thought it was just silly that there was a ski team.
Yeah. In California? I was like, what California city is this? Like, I guess...
where you like
the state of Northern California?
Like, he's gonna have a ski team. I love the bad guy. I think when you think about blonde bad guys in the 80s, of course William Zabka is gonna take the cake, right? But a very close second, in my opinion, is the dude that plays Roy Stalin. I mean, his name is Roy Stalin.
His name's Stalin.
And they refer to him as Stalin throughout the movie.
It's the weirdest, like, because I don't see any politics in this movie hardly at all. Right. And but that was one thing I'm like, is it just because it's the 80s?
It's just funny. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Like the whole claymation scene with Everybody Wants Some. I can watch that scene over and first of all, I'm a huge Van Halen fan, but I can watch that scene over and over again, and you're Al Myers, kid. Look pretty stupid to me. And what's the next thing he goes? He goes, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to go wash my hands." Wash your
hands on your own time.
That was pretty good.
Like again, this movie is like imprinted on my DNA, and again, there's something about your first job like he has. There's something about how awkward he is trying to woo this woman. And even their first conversation where he says he puts his testicles all over me.
It's pretty funny.
Octopus testicles.
Oh my gosh.
Since she's British in Bill and Ted, so
Really?
Yeah, she's the medieval babe.
She's the medieval babe.
Oh.
Yeah. Huh. She's also in a movie with the woman that plays Lane's mom, I believe, as like she's the husband's cheating with her.
This guy.
Yeah, I'm going to activate your dental plan.
I had to admit, I did enjoy. There were a few things that I did enjoy that are like good comedy things that I like, which is like a reoccurring gag. Like this type of movie, it had a bunch of reoccurring gags, and the fact that he reverses into this guy and then later he rear ends him, like that shit was, that was pretty funny. And it's the same guy, but also I want to talk more about him later, but the kid,
I want my $2.
Yeah, the newspaper kid. I'm trying to
4
find
weeks,
him.
That's 20 papers, $2 plus tip.
There he is.
Sorry, Billy, I don't have a dime. Didn't ask for a dime.
Go ahead, Raven.
He dies, right? Like he gets
pushed
off.
He's okay.
No, he doesn't die.
He survives.
He should die.
He goes off a
cliff. Explosion after he landed.
The car wash scene. If you listen again, I've watched the movie entirely too many times. If you listen when he goes to the car wash, he goes, "Oh man, I can't swim."
That was I like watching it. This movie, I was like, oh man, there were like you start to notice, oh man, they needed 2 like really good skiing stunt people. Like, oh man, they need like there was a lot of stunt work. And the one I found funny is I was like, when the kid is on top of the car and he's driving through town, which was they got a lot of shots of that. He's like driving through cardboard boxes and shit. And I was like, wow, the short, whoever was like the short stunt man was like, yeah, it's my fucking time.
Oh,
on top of the car.
There's nothing. This is a movie where no scene is wasted. Right? The mailman dropping.
Oh my god.
So good. So good.
Throwing the mail down, and then just the exchange he has his little boy. What's a little boy like you doing with big boy smut like this?
I like the fact that his name too was Badger. A homage to Leave It to Beaver.
Oh my gosh. I
also just love that for no reason whatsoever, everybody loves the math teacher and they're so excited.
I was thinking he was like Jordan Peterson.
How I don't know. Are you from California?
Chicago.
Chicago. I don't think it matters where you're from, really, but we've all had a moment where we were unprepared for class.
Oh my gosh.
When he takes his homework out with the gum in it.
That was good.
That to me, that encapsulates high school for me right there.
And then the legendary Vincent Schiavelli right there.
Oh.
This movie's fun just to see how young everyone is. Like, Jesus, look at him. Like, he didn't even have any salt in that pepper. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy to see him like that. And I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, Rayyvana. Like, this is where this movie, there's a lot of absurdism. You know what I mean? Like, and like from the beginning, Jon Cusack gets in the shower with socks on. So like from the beginning, there's this weird and
then he hair dries them off.
Yeah. Oh, he does. I did. Oh,
yeah. He hair dries them off like it was part of the plan.
I missed the bit.
Well, did you get the bit where he opens up the closet and it's all headshots of his girlfriend?
So creepy. So creepy.
Now you say that, right?
Wait, but this scene ends with the teacher asking him if he can ask his ex-girlfriend out.
Yeah.
Yes.
What the
fuck? Which is a running gag.
That's
and then they're in the car together.
Yeah. And then
you remember that? They leave in the car together?
Say what?
Yeah.
They leave in the car together as he goes, he's like, Lane, I was wondering if it would be awkward if I asked Beth out.
Oh my God.
I mean, just have you ever had, anyone break up with you and it's just the end of your world? And that's what all these it's silly because none of us have, made faces of our significant others on our hangers, or had professional headshots just lying around that we can exchange in picture frames. Like,
yeah, man, that's crazy. No one would do that.
But there is a moment where when you're young, you're probably a little bit more obsessed than you need to be. And it's just that it's the end of the world heartbreak and everything is going to remind you of that person. And, if you remember, there's this scene where she dumps him. All that's playing on the radio is breakup songs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he throws the radio out of the car finally. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I didn't have those moments, or still don't have those moments.
Yeah, it's the bits, man. They really commit to all the bits.
And it's so nonsensical. Like, you know, the cafeteria scenes in these 80s movies didn't look like this.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a scene where he's trying to hit on a cheerleader.
Yes.
Well, first of all, the scene starts where he's, you know, J. Andrew Worlding in the cafeteria drawing cartoons that are coming to life.
How did you know that I used to get passes out of study hall to go to all 3 lunches so I could do figure drawing?
Yes. Oh my god.
I figured this movie was gonna when Joe goes, oh, just pick a movie. Like, it's weird movies.
Yeah,
like,
just pick one.
Better Off Dead.
I didn't know fuck all about it, man. I really am the you know, I'm the millennial to your guys' Gen X. Like, I was born in 89, so like, what did we watch that I felt like was a 90s time capsule, Andy? It wasn't Tapeheads, was it? Because
No, that was 88.
Yeah.
Goonies.
No,
Not
we
yet.
haven't seen that yet.
We'll get to that. It was something that felt like a
Short
time
Circuit.
capsule of the 90s. This one is definitely
Space
a time
Camp.
capsule of the 80s.
Yeah, it wasn't
Chris Clemens.
Gunman,
That's her.
Yeah.
Wasn't
But
Gunman
what's
or
funny is
something, was
she's
it?
with the basketball team.
The
whole team.
That Michael Jackson jacket.
And
Oh, man.
I
I
don't know if
didn't even
anyone
notice that
noticed,
person.
the basketball team is all eating baby food.
I didn't notice that.
Jeez, I sorry I insulted this movie earlier, Jason. I didn't know. Like, you've watched this a lot for a long time.
Man, I'm telling you, this for me, like, I still feel like an awkward son of a bitch, and I love watching this movie and watching this awkward man try to get a win.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
this
the
is kind
strength of it. Like
Yeah, he can't do anything right.
I think it does like a really, really good job at like encapsulating the, you know, first breakup, the end of your life. It feels, because I went through that. I was, I don't know, like 17 or 18, and my deadbeat boyfriend broke up with me, and I was like, that's it. It's the end. I how am I supposed to carry on? And like, it just is so crushing and it feels so shitty. And it's like, now looking back, I'm like, that guy was a loser. And like, everything is fine now. Why did I care so much? But like, you know, when your world is relatively small, like
Yes.
that little bit of, you know, that little, you know, first breakup can really rock it. And it does feel as dramatic as they're like playing it up to be. And you do feel like you can never get a win afterwards. And although I'm not like in love with the idea of him needing like a new girl to like come in and get the win for him, but I think that that's also just emblematic of the way that you view things when you're that age. Like, you need someone else to come in and fix your problem for you, despite the fact that
keeping Tinder in business.
Yeah, he was always capable of
Might be
doing it
totally.
himself, right, the entire time, and all he needed was a woman to tell him that he could, and a newspaper boy to scare the shit out of him on the ski mountain. So,
Well, there's a great because also too, another thing that, you know, if you really want to take a deep dive into the movie, his parents are disconnected from his life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All they know how to do is talk at him, so they can't even encourage any sort of wins for him. His dad hooks him up on the date with the young lady that just, look, man, I don't want to go out with you. Just give me half of what you would have spent on me, and we'll call it a night. Like, he can't win for losing. And what does the young lady do? You know, she almost plays as a Miyagi type role. If you think about a movie like Karate Kid, like, hey, let's fix that car. You need to get a victory. You're not going to ski the K-12 tomorrow, but let's just fix that car. And then we'll work on skiing the K-12 so you can win this woman back.
Wax on, wax off.
But that's the kind of stuff that when you watch this movie entirely too many times, like I did, those things definitely like resonate with you, because even his friends or friend
Yeah.
who's not really his friend. Like you can't really tell if they're friends or not.
It's just a guy who wants to get drugs but can't, so he just hangs out with Lane.
Yeah.
And, like,
Although
sniffs whatever he
I'd
can
argue
find.
he is there for him, right? Because the advice that his friend gave him about going down the K-12 was the exact same advice that what's the character's name? Monique gave him, right?
Mhm.
Go fast that way. And if something gets in your way, turn. It's the same shit she told him to do. Like, and he's there. He's just trying to support him, right? He goes out to the mountain to ski with him, but like he's definitely constantly in pursuit of drugs, which is great. I like his character
It's like
a lot.
snorting the Jello.
He snorted. Yeah, he snorted.
Snow
He's all a big extenuated like cocaine joke. This guy. Which
Well, it's like it's an extension of his booger character, right?
This came after, didn't it?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes, Nerds came out in 84 and this comes out in 85.
And he's been typecast ever since, this guy. He couldn't.
Pretty much. I mean, do you think it's far from his character and not All the Right Moves? Risky Business?
Oh, I haven't seen it. I'm ashamed to say.
I can't, you know what? I haven't
so
seen
many
this
films I
movie
haven't seen.
in so long, so I'm gonna take a pass on that one.
I just know once he got into his 50s, he became like kind of, I don't know, like in an episode of Law and Order, he'd be like the kind of burnt out cop character or the burnt out like detective. You know, he got to that point where he just put a 5 o'clock shadow on him, and he's that guy, you know.
Oh, he was great on Gotham.
Oh yeah. There you go. Not a huge fan.
Oh,
What's his name?
Family Guy too. He's a voice on Family Guy.
Curtis Armstrong. Oh, okay, all right.
He's what is his
Very
name? It's not Booger, but it's close to like a Booger type name.
And who's this?
Haley, you know, Dottie from Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure.
That's who that is?
She was Buttercup from the Powerpuff Girls.
No.
And which Rugrat was she? Tommy Pickles? Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Name a cartoon voice.
Impressed.
She
did that Mariah Carey shit at one point.
She's in Valley Girl.
Yeah, no, she's got quite the resume, and that song, that Better Off Dead song that's sung at the dance there, that song slaps.
That's her.
That's her.
You know what? For me, it elevated the movie. Like I was like, oh whoa, like look, they have like a real artist doing some shit in this movie. Like it's a song for the movie. Like I was like, okay. And I don't know why I like this movie. Cause I just like, I try to go into a lot of Bad Takes movies just completely blind. I don't know anything about them. Cause Andy is an archive of all this shit in his head. Mm-hmm. Right. And you know, I just don't, so I'm very like first impression of this stuff. And like the opening of it with the cartoon.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of set it up in a weird way, right? I was like, oh, this is very much like one of those types of movies. But I'm trying to think of like the other thing that it seems like, you know, like Ferris Bueller is a movie about a guy who's just winning the whole time. Mm-hmm. This is like an anti-Ferris Bueller.
And go back and watch Ferris Bueller. He's got a room in 1984, I think, when that movie comes. Maybe it's even 86 when it comes out, because I remember going to the theater to see it. That you're like, that's the coolest room ever. You got the sampler and all this other crazy shit in your room at your disposal. You can hack the computer's mainframe before the internet at your school and change grades. You got the best girlfriend. Your rich friend has a dope ass car.
Yeah.
And you're not going to take any blame for any of the fuck ups that happened that day. That ever happened.
Wow.
You know, this movie is not a John Hughes movie, mainly because there's a black person in it with a speaking card.
Oh,
take that, John Hughes.
Oh, shots fired. I love it. What I'm looking around for more screenshots. Should we just say something about, like, you know, it is like the goofy premise of the movie. And I'll just really quick say, everybody, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Suicide's no laughing matter. But like, do we want to talk about how suicide, the character trying to kill himself, like that's a big part of like the slapstick shit here? Like, what did
apparently that really happened to the writer. He tried to hang himself on a pipe, and stand on a garbage can. The garbage can got crushed and the pipe broke and there was water everywhere. And he was in the garbage can and his mom came in the garage where he tried to hang himself and started yelling at him for breaking the water.
Yeah, and that's why he did this serious movie about his attempted suicide. And people like Henry Winkler thought that was hilarious.
He can't get suicide right. Like, remember when Ricky's mom blows up, it's because he's trying to light himself on fire.
Yes.
I love the line, like, oh, this is like the moonshine my husband used to make.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It's so fun. Yeah, no, it's so funny that he sits down. He's dousing himself in this shit.
Yeah.
He's got like he's wearing rags and no one says anything about like his mom walks into the garage when he's trying to hang himself, doesn't even notice. He like accidentally when he's trying to like kill himself with carbon monoxide poisoning and breaks the garage, which also the garage door is a fantastic running gag in the movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
When he breaks the garage door, it's just like, fuck, that's our garage door, not like our son just tried to commit suicide.
Like that again, that's that whole part of like my parents don't see me.
Yeah.
Show me one teenager.
Shit.
I am the parent of teenagers, you know.
Oh boy.
I love them a lot. Couple of them look like me, you know. But you know, they swear that nobody fucking sees them and or cares about their problems, as they definitely don't give a shit about me, right? So you know, the all these scenes to me definitely, I don't know, maybe it's taking a jab at something that now I think would be too serious. But at the time, I definitely cracked the fuck up when I watched it because I understood what it was like to just constantly not be able to get out of my own way.
Wow.
While trying to woo someone that I probably shouldn't even like, because remember her breakup call with him is not
the
like
worst. Just vile
like,
shit.
She had it coming in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Better looking. Drives
very
car.
Yeah, it was very transactional, zero sum shit.
More popular, which is funny because when they show them like when they first get together, it's not like that at all, right? Like they're both very awkward. They're both very like, oh, I don't know how to navigate this interaction. And then like school starts.
I played that scene back. I played that scene back because I love that scene. And I was just trying to listen to what he said. And the only word you can make out that Jon Cusack's saying while you're hearing the voiceover is Nazi. Like, I don't know.
Yes. I picked that up. I was like, what?
Like, I went back and listened to it. Yeah. And like he's like talking something about the school. And then you can't really understand what he's saying. And then he just punches the word Nazi.
It was weird.
But there's this whole like voiceover of like, well, maybe she thinks there's something. Oh my God! What if it's called relish? Oh God!
Please don't let it be a booger.
Yeah,
relish on my nose. Oh, that scene again. Have you ever met someone? And I still like, make sure he's trying to make sure, say the right thing. If you listen to the conversation, it's also really funny. Are you enrolled in school?
Yeah.
How are you finding the classes?
Yeah. Are you finding the local education system adequate? I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was impressed going back to the math scene, the math class. Like the lines in the math scene were very funny and like very like, he was doing this whole like every word was more complicated than the next. And he delivered it really well.
Well, it's Vincent Schiavelli. Like the man could read a phone book and it'd be just as awesome.
Oh, you mean the math problem that everyone's ready for?
Yeah.
They're so excited. They're pulling out their like huge binders.
And what's funny, remember that scene, what makes it funny is that all the people that traditionally in these movies are the riffraff are all pulling out more complicated ways of pulling out their homework. Computer. The girl that looks like a punk rocker pulls out the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And with the accordion file. And then when he goes up to the chalkboard, he has the flashback of his first time with Beth, which is another great line in the movie where he can't find the condom.
It broke. I'll get another one.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a new one.
Lane, it's just our virginity.
Like,
like,
doesn't
are you
that
sure
remind
there's
you
no-
of watching like Family Guy or something like that? You know, they have all the scenes that go back to
Their tires get stolen too.
Yeah,
They have
there's no one out there. They're just sneaking around stealing all the tires off the car.
There's a lot of like Family Guy has a lot of like flat like memories that they just make up, but this one I did appreciate it. Reminded me of other kind of 80s stuff where they had these extended kind of like fantasy sequences where like he would just kind of go off in his head, like the animated burger scene was one of those. And
One Crazy Summer continues this if you're wondering. If you which is definitely worth watching if you enjoyed this movie, check out One Crazy Summer.
Demi Moore. I think that's our first major.
I think you're right. And the late great Jon Cusack, I think is how I don't know how to say the dude's name. He died in the like early 90s of cocaine overdose, but he was
really? I didn't know
he was like a football player turned actor.
And the tall guy.
Yeah. He was in Ice Pirates and Caveman with Ringo Starr. Like
oh my god, Caveman.
Nothing really good, but like he was fantastic and everything he's in. Just most of it's crap. But he was in One Crazy Summer, so R.I.P. I really wish we got more with that guy because he was great.
This movie for me was like the antithesis of all the Chicago movies. No offense to Chicago. It's just
Which is funny because Jon Cusack, big Chicago guy.
Oh, he exudes it, right? His name, his name.
It's a Chicago name.
Chicago. Yeah, it smells like a Polish sausage covered in more meat and cheese.
It's just a deep dish name.
One of the best food cities in America. New Orleans and Chicago, two great food cities.
New Orleans. My sister's got restaurants there.
She owns restaurants in New Orleans?
Yeah, Wake and Bacon. If you're ever in New Orleans, California
Wake
kid went out there. Yeah, Wake and Bacon. You know what we're talking about, me and.
Where part of New Orleans is it?
Wait.
They started off with a teeny tiny shop, and over the years, her and her husband Conrad, and they have like 3 or 4 now. I mean, there's one in downtown near the hospital. There's one. They've expanded the empire, but anyway,
next time I'm down there, I'll have
free advertisement for my sister there. I'll tell her. I'll tell her. She owes me some.
This episode's been sponsored by Wake and Bacon.
Wake and Bacon, New Orleans. Check them out. But anyway, it's Jon Cusack, man. Like, it was interesting seeing this and then remembering Tapeheads. And like thinking about how all these guys at this time, like they're, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Ferris Bueller, like this was a big thing. The teenage, white male, of course, like going through different. The other thing I found weird is like you were talking, Jason, about always feeling like an awkward kid, and like he's an awkward kid. He's driving like the car that, hey man, it's a car. You have a car. He's driving a car around, but he's got this nicer car that's hiding out. But then also the foil to him is the hyper nerdy kid with like the nasal spray and shit.
Dennis Blunden from Head of the Class.
Isn't he a pedophile or something?
What?
No, that's Jared from Subway.
No, Dennis Blunden from Head of the Class was like went on to directing stuff on
Nickelodeon. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it came out that he was like abusing like a lot of the stars.
Who did this?
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
Ricky. What is his name? Ricky. What is his last name?
Smith.
Are we talking about someone who's in the movie?
Yeah.
Not this guy. Who are we talking about?
Yeah.
He went on to
show called Head of the Class.
What's that show?
Oh,
Keenan and Kale.
Dan Schneider. That's who that is. He has like a weird obsession with feet. Like he's like a creepy like
underage people's feet.
Yeah. Okay.
What? Feet?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a Zoomer, right? I grew up watching all of his shows. There is definitely in like iCarly and in Drake and
there's
Josh.
Head of the Class.
There's
That
a
was
lot of
great
there
show.
is a lot of zooming in on underage feet, and apparently that was because that was his like disgusting pedophilic kink, and
No
it was
In
not
his
just
fucking way.
on
London from
camera.
out of the class?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You mean he's the manager in Good Burger?
Mhm.
Holy shit! Wow,
I think he was part of the writing team on that.
dude,
Yeah.
Hollywood, you know.
And that's why he's not in anything anymore. Because they
Because he was
kind of ran
messing
him
with
out.
kids.
He was messing with kids.
Jesus Christ.
he was like the guy at Nick. Like all of
Yeah.
the shows were
Yeah.
Dan Schneider shows, but yeah,
Jesus
weird feet
Christ.
shit in all of those shows for sure.
Really?
To the point where I remember thinking, like, why
weird.
am I looking at Miranda Cosgrove's feet right now? Like,
Oh my God, it's like
that's
Tarantino.
gross.
It's like Tarantino, only way worse. I think.
Recently we did a Tarantino movie on Movie Night Extravaganza. And I'm watching, I'm like listening to an interview of Quentin Tarantino, and my wife is accidentally touching my feet, which completely freaked me out. I'm like, you can't touch my feet right now. I'm listening to Quentin Tarantino.
That's so funny. Oh
Like I
my
thought he was
God.
going to get me or something.
Oh my gosh. Every time someone gets a foot massage, Tarantino smiles on the inside. We have someone in the chat saying, oh my gosh, Joe on TIR, he's in my history class. I'm not on This is Revolution. This is Revolution is very nice to be hosting Bad Takes podcast. Pretty much the whole audience right now, Jason, is your audience. So we really appreciate.
I don't know how true that is because I can tell when other chats are coming through. So there's not a lot coming through.
I have one watching on Political Pain on YouTube. I have two watching on Bad Takes on YouTube. I have one watching on Jason Myles Facebook. I have one watching on This is Revolution Twitch, and 18 on This is Revolution YouTube. So thanks for your audience, Jason. Everybody,
Yeah.
go give Bad Takes a follow. Go give
Please.
Rayyvana. Do you have a YouTube channel? You do, right?
Yeah, I never upload, but you should follow anyway because I'm
Totally,
almost at 1,000 subscribers and I have almost no videos. And I think it'd be really cool if I got to 1,000 with like 4 videos that I delist constantly because I don't use my YouTube. But yeah, do it. But also subscribe or follow and subscribe to me on Twitch because I actually do stream there. And I would be simul streaming right now, but I couldn't figure out how to set it up. I am, despite being only 24 years old, technologically illiterate, and I suck at the internet.
You are 20. That means that you were, Jesus, weren't even a memo in one of these love letters when this movie came out.
Not even a concept. My parents had not even met yet.
I think my sister.
You know what? You want to hear something crazy? I can honestly say this now, and now I think I'm too old, and I should probably go take my Geritol and go to sleep. My daughter's going to be 24 this year.
Oh yeah.
How about this? My oldest just turned 18, so I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, you can say you're old. You're young enough to be my daughter.
Yeah, I can actually.
That's cool, man.
And
There's no
it's
shame in
very
it.
true. Like
There's
that.
no shame in it.
First time I think this has happened on a show where officially my kid is actually helping out with the show now. So
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Put kids to work. Get
Well,
to work,
been
kid.
doing it for years.
Well, I live so far from him, right? I live in a different country, so
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of different countries,
I was talking to you about moving down here before I moved down here. Remember?
Say that again.
I was talking to you about moving down here before I even got down here.
Oh yeah. I was surprised, and you went for it. I was like, wow. Yeah.
Joe came to me and was like, I don't know, man. We got a place in Santa Maria. It's a lot closer.
Yeah. You were like, I'm gonna go. I was like, I
I'm
fucking
just
went for
gonna
it.
go see what it's like to not have a paved road to live on.
Somebody's talking about Pascal and Jason. Jason rocks. Yes, he does. Thanks for that. Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go.
I also started having kids way too early. Like, oof, that poor little girl.
It happens.
The sad part is that little girl has to watch all these movies as well. I don't know if your parents are the same way. Yeah, you have to watch all this shit.
Yeah, my mom had like when I was in high school, it was finally time for her to show me every 80s movie that she loved when she was in high school.
Oh
So,
no.
it was every single Friday. We'd have like Friday pizza movie night or whatever. And we watched, Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, which she doesn't like very much, but wanted me to watch because she saw it 37 times in the movie theater.
Whoa.
Despite not liking it very much.
Not very much.
Ferris
What does she do to a movie
Bueller.
she likes?
I know. She also saw Star Wars like that many times. And she's seen U2 in concert 25 times.
Holy
She
shit.
likes to do things more than once. But
Way
yeah.
too much Bono.
But actually, one of my favorite movies is Say Anything. So I'm a huge Jon Cusack fan, but Say Anything is awesome. I have like a very distinct memory of every time I was sick and I would stay home from school. I would go onto the DVR and like pull out Say Anything and watch it like 3 times in one day. Because much like my mom, I like to watch things more than once, and I really like that movie.
I'm the same way.
There's a charm to a lot of these older films, even though we go back and deconstruct them, and then kind of seems like we're shitting all over them. But I definitely.
Oh, and just real quickly, shout out to Drew Struzan who did the painting for the movie. Brilliant artist. So just
that's what I love to see. I love to see a nice painting movie poster like that.
Yeah, no, and
they also did Back to the Future, and there's another movie they did too.
He did the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, that was the one.
Yeah. He did the Star Wars movies. He did the Harry Potter movies.
Untouchable.
Actually, have the Star Wars movie poster behind me in metal print. Can't really see it, but there it is.
That's cool.
He did the re-release. No, he didn't do that one.
That one boo.
Yeah. If I remember, if I can tell that one correctly, I think that's the one based on the Hildebrandt one. If it's not the Hildebrandt one, which was the original poster, and then they got repainted because honestly, like Hildebrandts are kind of awesome in a way, but like at the same time, they're not like a movie poster kind of people. Not trying to knock them. I know Joe knows all their work because they did a lot of Hobbit paintings.
Hell, fucking yeah, bro.
Yeah, they're very famous for that. But
can't wait for this Amazon show, dude. I'm excited. I'm excited.
When Star Wars first
new
came
Amazon
out,
show?
the Hildebrands were asked to do the painting, and they had like a weekend to do it. Like this is like the week before the movie comes out, and like you got to have it done this weekend. And like, okay, what do the stars look like? Nobody knows what the stars look like. It doesn't matter. Just paint it. So you have this painting where it doesn't look like Luke or Leia, and it's freaking great. They just got their neighbor and threw bathrobes on them, and
interesting.
Yeah, no, it's wild, the whole story behind it. I got to do a panel at a convention with one of the Hildebrands once, and it was amazing.
Wow.
I got to hear it in person. It's like inches from me. It was so cool.
So like you have to go back now, Joe, and watch, all the other 80s movies that no one ever watches, like Teen Witch.
Yeah, I would like to. This is what
Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And what's another 80s movie? You got to watch High School USA, which was a made-for-TV movie, but anything with Michael J. Fox and Nancy McKeon in it.
I love Michael J. Fox, man.
What else? World is it? He's got to go back and watch like rare gems of this era.
Yeah, certainly One Crazy Summer needs to go on that list.
Hot Pursuit came out after One Crazy Summer.
Yeah.
So with Ben Stiller. Blood Diner. You're like skipping to a whole other genre.
I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. The a lot of these teen movies I kind of skipped for the most part. I did end up catching Breakfast Club, which Breakfast Club ain't a bad movie if you haven't seen it before. Is it the best movie? No, but you'll enjoy watching it. It's well paced and I think pays off fairly well at the end. It needs more black people in it, but
Oh, there's just look.
Or any black people in it.
I was going to say a black person.
John Hughes did not like people of color. Let's just be honest. Damn. Any sort of ethnicity was really shit on. Go back and watch Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
And also Martin Sheen was also shat on with John Hughes because while they were making Breakfast Club, somebody on set was mocking the fact that Martin Sheen had a heart attack during Apocalypse Now, not realizing who Emilio Estevez was.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I was gonna say, like, John Hughes did 16 Candles, right? That movie is insanely racist.
Long
Just
Duck Dong.
yeah, wildly racist. Like,
You know what's
so
funny?
much
So
of the
that
show is just making fun of him because he's Asian.
That actor went on
Yeah.
to star in a movie. I don't know if you guys watch horror films called Vamp with
That sounds
Grace
right.
Jones.
Mm-mm.
And plays a totally different character. And he says, like, I was really excited to play this character because I wasn't playing the same thing I was doing in 16 Candles.
Oh wow. Yeah, it must be a little degrading. I mean, I did find like this character it was funny, it was a funny bit, but then like at first you think like what's going on here, and then like they say, you know, I think he calls them like kamikaze. Like it got a little like ooh, yeah.
What's sad about that is that his voice, he actually like did the voicing, and then they overdubbed him with Rich Little.
Oh,
so that's not him. You know, the next year he's Chozan in Karate Kid 2, which is like, poor guy will never live that role down. He will always be Chozan in Karate Kid 2.
Of course. So they voiced him over, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised. I always thought they did, but I didn't realize that they actually, you know.
But he said that he created an accent that was going to have a little bit of a Japanese tinge. It was going to be literally a Japanese person that they told him, like, you're a Japanese person that grew up listening to Howard Cosell.
Dang.
So he had a Japanese accent doing Howard Cosell.
Oh man, it must have been great.
I would have liked to have heard his rendition. Didn't they voice over?
Sorry, they said that his own creation was too offensive. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Again, this would not. There's no studio in the world that can make this movie now because people are going to start pointing out all the problematic elements.
Yeah,
like,
well,
like buying the foreign exchange student for your son.
All of these adult men like wanting to date the high school
Barney
girl.
Rubble. Don't forget Barney Rubble. You know, it's like, hey,
can I date her too?
I mean, the little brother is in a room, smoke-filled room, with a bunch of scantily clad women, and he's, as Jon Cusack's character described him, almost 8.
It was that kid had a lot of weird things. Like there wasn't much about that character. Like he was just like he made a laser, like he turned a toy laser gun into a real one. He's doing like so he's a tech genius. Then out of nowhere, he's got like a scene where he's drinking martinis with a bunch of women. Like that was it. And then
no, they set it up because remember the mailman had read the title of the book as he was reading the book while he was delivering the mail, put it back in the envelope, and then said the whole line about aren't you a little young to be, or I can't remember the line. Jason, what's the line?
What's a little boy like you doing reading big boy smut like this?
Now you mentioned the voiceover before, because I could have swore they voiced over the newspaper kid in this scene.
No, that's him.
For real.
It's so good.
It sounded like a voiceover.
This scene, it's not just the kid, it's the kid playing it this hardcore, and Jon Cusack. I don't know if he ad-libbed this, but did you pay attention to what he says?
Yeah, he says,
yeah,
my brother's arm got stuck in a microwave. Yeah, and my grandmother was
took
tripping
acid. Yeah,
hijacked a school bus full of penguins.
Yes,
so it's kind of a family emergency.
Kind of that was good. There was stuff like that. I appreciate.
And told that to my kid who would appreciate that. Who turned down watching the movie with me.
I don't know what you're missing,
kid.
I read that Jon Cusack walked out of a screening of the film because he didn't like it.
Yep.
But he has like since come around to, or says that he just didn't like the way that they represented his character or something. But that he
and he was already
glad that people like it.
Crazy Summer.
Yeah.
Well, we tagged Jon Cusack on Twitter. If he wants to clear the air on this, he can join the stream if he likes.
He's very active. He responds to a lot of. I made a video about him, like yelling at a Barstool dumbass at the Sox game, and he responded to it. He'll replies to people.
Pretty cool.
He's a good guy.
I don't know if he replies to stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about. But Amanda Wiss did. She liked my tweet, and I thought that was pretty cool.
All right.
That Tina from Nightmare on Elm Street and
Wow.
Beth from Better Off Dead
and Randy from Highlander.
And Randy from Highlander. What else was she in?
She's been in a lot of stuff. She's worked, which is nice. And she's still working, I think.
If I would have known E.G. Daly's Twitter, I totally would have tagged her on this. Because I love her in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I'm a loner, Dottie. A rebel.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Man, I haven't thought about that movie in a long time.
My 3-year-old son enjoys Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
My mom made me watch that movie when I was very young because it was one of her favorite movies also. And it scared me, the scene with the truck driver.
Marge.
But yeah, of course. But other than that, I love that movie.
I went to the theater to see that with my mother, and when Large Marge came on the screen, I was terrified for the rest of the movie.
She's scary. She's fucked up.
Tell them Large Marge sent you.
Oh my God. That's a weird thing. Like kids movies that have something in them that like scares younger kids. Like it's a kids movie. There are a few movies like that. Like
that's how they made them in the 80s.
Yeah, the Goonies. Oh, I really love
Monster Squad.
I really love all the animation by the genius blanking on his name, Don Bluth. No, what am I?
Don Bluth's an animator.
Yes, like American Tail.
That's Don Bluth.
Yeah, like his shit is like great, like stuff for kids. And then there will be one thing in there that like when you're a kid, it like chills your fucking bones.
Secret of Nim.
Yeah, yes. Dude. Yeah.
We watched Dark Crystals the other week for Movie Night Extravaganza, and that movie is creepy.
Yes,
it's a kids movie, but it's creepy.
I saw it when I was 5.
Fraggle Rock is very disturbing.
Dude, don't talk. I'm an OG Fraggle Rock. They worship a compost pile. That shit was cool as fuck. We had it. Yeah, we had a compost pile growing up, and I was like, "That's the coolest shit." They're compost piles alive.
OG, yeah, right.
So no original Fraggle Rock. Come to Fraggle Rock. Boom, boom.
Yeah, you watched it, but you weren't watching it live.
I think Fraggle Rock was like only on Showtime.
Yeah, it was like only the rich kids in school got to watch it.
I had to watch that shit, the squiggly lines. Are you guys old enough to remember trying to watch cable through squiggly lines?
Here's when I lived in the Berkshires, they didn't have the filters because to tap out all the cable stations there. Mm-hmm. So we were getting like all these really good premium cable stations for like a year before like some new cable guy shows up and goes, "Oh, let me pop this in," because the guy just is like, "I don't have the part of my truck," wink, and left.
Oh, so you got the hookup. Yeah. Oh, someone says it was HBO, so we stand corrected. It was HBO. Fraggle Rock was on. I remember it was a cable network that you had to pay to see.
Yeah, it was like.
I think my parents were stealing cable too.
Yeah, when my parents first got like a DVR, when they came in, they set it up. We accidentally had Star and HBO and Showtime. And all those channels you weren't supposed to get. And of course, we weren't going to say anything about it. Like, who would be like, excuse me, wow. I would just like to report that I am getting too many good channels.
Oh my God.
My kid's watching A Soldier Story, and I'm afraid what's going to happen next.
Well, it wasn't the premium stuff we were getting, but I was getting IFC. So let me tell you something. I was watching all the Kurosawa
there you go.
I wanted to.
There you go.
It was fantastic, throwing a blood every other weekend.
Like this movie reminds me of having bootleg cable because like I was telling World, like I had this on a cassette that someone had given me. Someone was like, I got 2 movies, dude. Here's what you got. Wow. And we had bootleg ass cable that would come in and out. And so all I had was channel 2, which is like now the Fox affiliate, Joe. It was KTVU in the Bay because we have we're just far enough from each other to have different TV. Mm-hmm. And then it was one of the cable channels, either HBO or Cinemax, I can't remember. And that was like all I had. So that's why I watched way too many movies like this. So many shitty B movies.
So you had this on VHS?
Someone gave me a VHS with this and like The Wraith.
Oh, okay. When you have something on VHS,
did you hit your gain?
Yeah, I was gonna say your mic just
Your
switched
gain
up.
level is super high.
me, am I hot?
Now
mic?
you're not hot.
You're good now.
Okay, I backed off of it. I backed off a little bit. But
So don't eat the mic, bro.
yeah, all right. When you have a VHS, like when you were a kid and you had like a movie on VHS, that movie is so deep in your neurology.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm trying to think of like Jurassic
I can
Park.
tell you the movies that I had on VHS because my mom worked at a place called Thrifty, which, funny enough,
Oh,
in
shit.
Mexico is like an ice cream. It's like Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, dude, it is. Yeah, they have it
but
right.
it was just a convenience store, like a CVS.
Yeah.
So she would get these movies, but it would always be like big Hollywood hits, and she would just give them to me because they were on sale, super cheap. She got a discount, so I had Ghost, Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yes.
I had Home Alone.
Pretty
on.
Woman.
Okay.
I mean, there's a reason why I'm so sensitive.
I had Jungle Book, and I
Did you gonna say
had
Jungle Fever?
my
Show that to my kids tomorrow.
Oh my god.
my mom had ET, and I was terrified of
I
ET.
hated that movie.
I had never seen it. I had seen the cover art on the VHS tape, and that was enough. And I knew that I was scared to the point where I had reoccurring nightmares where I was trying to carve a pumpkin in my back patio because it was Halloween time, I suppose, in my dream. And I would my mom would call me to come inside. And as I would turn, I would all of a sudden get scared and run for the door. But before I could get to the door, a 7-foot tall ET starts to choke me out. And then I watched the movie finally when I was like 13, and I was like, he's little? What do you mean he's little? It's just a dude. He's a little dude.
Was the leak script to ET2 like your bedtime story or something? Because that is have like a 7-foot ET choking out Elliot.
Whoa.
It's an insane.
I will not be watching that.
No, they never made it, but like you can find the script.
Did you guys do The Last Starfighter?
Not yet.
Mm-mm. We did Screamers, which was that's one of the more sci-fi ones we did, and that was.
For some reason, I thought you guys did The Last Starfighter too. I just recently rewatched that again because I wanted to see if I liked it. Because I have a friend. I'll shout out Dan Larson has a great YouTube channel called Toy Galaxy. And he did The Last Starfighter recently, kind of revisiting that movie, and I rewatched it after I saw it on his show because I forgot how much I loved that computer animation, that kind of the upgrade from Tron.
Yeah, it was revolutionary, man. I mean, it totally was like your TV, your YouTube show there. It was revolutionary.
I'm sorry. Someone in the chat just said that they just rewatched Mr. Bob, and it immediately brought back like a deep memory in me of the scene where he's putting too much. He can't figure out how to do the fucking laundry, and he dumps all of the borax into the fucking. I haven't seen that movie since I was a very small child, but I loved that movie when I was.
I loved everything that he did. Him and Tom Hanks, all the Man with One Red Shoe,
Splash.
Didn't was it Michael Keaton in Multiplicity?
Yes.
Yep.
I saw Multiplicity when I was young, and I was probably too young to see it.
Oh man, I came out when I was in college.
The clones are all fucking his wife, and it's
I
getting awkward.
I mean, Michael Keaton's Batman is like my favorite Batman.
Yeah.
Which I think that was the first real actual VHS tape I ever had. Like we recorded stuff off broadcast television as a kid. So we had Conan the Destroyer on videotape, but it was with commercials.
Yeah.
Me too. I had Jaws with commercials. I had Jaws. And which channel? It was AMC back in the day. They did all of the Planet of the Apes. And my dad was like, fuck yeah. And he went and bought a whole pack of blank VHS. And we had all the Planet of the Apes, and he would run up and stop the movie and get to during the commercials and hit record right as they ended. He was all fucking about the Planet. The which one? There's one where the Caesar character. It's like the fourth one. It's the weirdest one.
How many did they make?
Maybe 5.
Yeah.
it like the remake that they did, I didn't hate. I enjoyed it, but like
Well, which
that
remake?
that character or whatever, the James Franco one,
Okay.
another Predator, that Predator,
Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
But not the
and-
one with Marky Mark, the one who like pokes out Asian people's eyes.
Oh my
jeez,
God.
I didn't see that one.
Oh no, real life Mark Wahlberg, like
Oh,
He
Mark
beat a
Wahlberg did,
Vietnamese
yes.
man
Eyes.
until the Vietnamese man went blind
Yeah.
while calling him slurs.
yes,
I should
Yes.
not have a
He's-
career.
yeah, he's
like
A-list actor.
notorious for chasing black kids around Boston and throwing rocks at them and calling them the N-word. Like,
And chances are I'm going to get canceled tomorrow.
yeah.
for doing.
Wait,
the
for
same thing.
what?
No, Ben
Digital-
Burgess just recorded an episode of Joe Rogan today. So it's premiering tomorrow, and the odds are very good that my artwork will be on the show tomorrow. So, you know,
Is that
that's
a car or is that a sound effect?
Oh, that was a car driving by. I'm like right off of Main Drag.
Oh, okay. That's
So-
I'm trying.
That's ominous.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up.
Jason was playing something at first.
I'm trying to look up all the Planet of the Apes movies to remember which one it was, and I think it's Battle for the Planet of the Apes. No, it's
No,
not
That's the new one, right?
Conquest.
if you're talking about, I think it's like
There's Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, and then there's the one where there's like a time travel mechanism where
at the end of
Cornelius.
the second one, because they nuke everything.
Yes, they time travel back and then they leave. They get brutally murdered. It's like the worst Planet of the Apes movie ever, or that everyone hated it. And then, but their little baby Caesar is left behind. And then the movie after that is when Caesar, like, it's just this creepy dystopia. It's actually a really interesting dystopia that they present in that. I can't Rise of the Planet. I don't know.
Like that. Yeah, they get
Someone
confused.
mentioned the movie Near Dark from '87, and that is a very good movie. There's also some really great like dark films. Of
Bill
the 80s.
Paxton, right? Or am I thinking of the wrong one?
The late Bill Paxton.
Yes, which friend of a friend, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Is he
wow.
from your area?
Sort of, kind of. He is a Texan. But my friend Gabriel Horn, who was on our second episode of Tape Heads, he was friends with Bill Paxton and his friend Tom Huckabee, who just recently passed away. He's a small-time producer in Hollywood. He directed Bill Paxton's first starring role and helped produce Frailty, Bill Paxton's directorial debut. So
That was a good movie. I really liked
hell
Frailty.
yeah.
I really liked Frailty.
And everybody slept on Frailty.
I did. I got the DVD. I really liked Frailty. Yeah, Bill Paxton from Aliens.
I didn't watch it when it came out. I wanted to. I just missed it, and I only saw it relatively recently. That movie is amazing. But like it's Matthew McConaughey before anybody knew what Matthew McConaughey could do, and he's doing it in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the VHS tapes, though, it reminded me that we had Titanic on VHS tapes, not purchased, ripped off TV, recorded with commercials. 6 VHS tapes to get all of Titanic.
Jesus,
is it that long with commercials?
God,
Yeah.
damn.
See, my parents were like doing like 3 movies and 1 VHS tape. So like it's like really shitty quality, but like it was kind of cool because like in college I had those with me, and I popped them in once, and I'm like watching it and going like, wait, there's an Evil Dead 2 commercial on Conan the Destroyer. This is awesome.
I had Pete the Magic Dragon or Puff the Magic Dragon, but cut out halfway through into Ghost.
Pete's Dragon.
Pete's Dragon.
Ghost, you said?
Pete's Dragon. In the middle was Ghost. It was. I remember watching
Ghost?
that one
How
time.
How old were you?
I was like, it was my mom's old VHS tape, but the first time I watched that, I was like 8. And they had fallen asleep, and I put it on, and I was like, "That movie didn't end right.
You were terrified for
that movie didn't end right." Like
you were like, Jesus,
man, what Puff did you do?
Yeah. Is this what happens when mom and dad go in the garage to make pottery stuff? Does your dad look like Patrick Swayze?
No. I also just want to know what channel was playing fucking or Pete's Dragon, and like I don't know, maybe they just changed the channel or maybe they recorded over it or something, but like it was it was a time. I was confused. Not as fucked up as I was though when I watched Click. I was too young to watch that movie. My mom had no idea what it was about. Yeah.
I was old
like
already
10.
I was older already when that movie came out, and I was just like, God damn, Adam Sandler, what the fuck happened to you, bro? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, I never really watched it because
I didn't get that film at all.
It's fucked up. It was gross. I was too young to watch it. Did not have a good time. Walked away from it feeling icky. Still feel icky thinking about it.
What's gross about it?
It's like, I mean, it's like a
Art
pathetic.
David Hasselhoff's face.
I don't know. I was too young to see sex scenes in movies at that
There was
age.
definitely sex scene.
There was quite a bit of
like
sex.
Fast forwards through like years where he doesn't have sex with his wife. I was like, really? Like that's what you want to fast forward through? Not like diaper changing and fights. That's interesting.
So people are mentioning it in the chat, but things are escalating quite a bit in Ukraine.
Yeah, it looks like Russia has launched an assault.
Yeah. So does anybody have any thoughts on that? I don't want to ignore it. I know this is a movie show, but it's also a leftist movie show. So, we talk about these things. Anybody have any thoughts they want to share?
I'm going to stay quiet till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tune in to This is Revolution Podcast where Kuba Wisniewski will be talking all about what's going on in the Ukraine.
Just, solidarity when like it feels shitty to say this, but thoughts and prayers with the people there who have, everything to lose and nothing to gain from like the geopolitical posturing of nations, using them as, pawns in a game that, is only gonna damage them. It's shitty. It sucks. It's fucked up. And I think a lot of political analysis of these situations is sort of devoid from the human aspect of it. And I try to, I don't know. I'm just sort of tired of all of it. And just, I just feel bad for the people there. It's ass. They didn't ask for this.
Absolutely. Agree. Solidarity.
I was in the middle, like all jokes aside, I was in the middle of doing, Kuba had done a video essay and he recorded himself speaking, the script. And I was going to cut in footage like I usually do. And all of his audio was gone. I don't know what happened. And so he had sent me the script. So I was like, well, look, I cut an intro. Let me try to just read your thing. If you don't mind, I'll just get it done. He goes, yeah, sure, just get it done. I'm sorry that this happened. I was like, oh, no, don't worry. And I can't read the Russian. I just couldn't read the Russian names of some of the countries. I was just fucking it up. So he goes, so he's supposed to be doing it. He says, holy shit, amphibious landing in Odessa. Like he says it's pretty insane right now.
Yeah, this is a real invasion too. This is not good. I know. I spent time as a baby in Turkey, so I'm very familiar with the area and the geopolitics of the area from my time there being as a baby.
Andy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But no, this is not cool at all. It's a beautiful region. I was too young to remember Turkey, but I am old enough to remember the photos from Turkey. And I was I spent several months off the Black Sea, so solidarity with.
So Cuba's coming. So if you give me a link, Joe. I can send it to Cuba.
Yeah, I mean, Jon Cusack isn't coming, so.
I mean, Cuba's probably seen this movie too, because he probably.
Lane Meyer.
So let me drop this here. So if anybody still doesn't know, this is the Bad Takes movie podcast with Joe and Andy. Welcoming on our guests here, Jason Myles and Rayyvana. And, we're just talking about, the aggressions, the conflict in Russia now, because this is a leftist movie show. But again, thanks, Jason, for hosting us on your channel. That's very sweet of you. But I dropped the link in there for you in our group chat. If you see it there, you can send that Kuba's way.
Yeah, I'm sending it to him right now. Kuba says he can only do audio because he doesn't wear pants if he's not going to be on the show. So I think he's just, what do you young people say? Hanging dong?
I don't say that.
I don't think that's something people really say.
I think it's Donald Ducking it.
Donald Ducking.
Putin announced his military operation.
With a little shirt.
Jesus. You guys are nuts. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing right now.
Yeah, it's not the best night to do a movie podcast about a 1980s screwball comedy.
It's not like you fucking checked with Putin before you.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't.
And yeah, well, it's not too far off topic because one of the characters is, Roy Stalin. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's weird.
And there was a lot of aggression from Russia in that movie. Yeah.
It's I'm trying to find like footage for us to look at a little bit here. There's missiles flying.
Oh, that's Russia. I was like, that's not even Better Off Dead.
No. Yeah, there's missiles flying and all other kinds of craziness. So
this is the part where Lane got dumped.
It's all right. It's all right. We got a lot of people in the comments.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah,
he says his parents are calling him. They're a little worried. Like this is a big deal right now.
Fuck.
Yes.
Well, someone says, "Quick, switch to Red Dawn." You know what's so funny about Red Dawn?
Fuck. Damn. Oh,
which one?
I won't watch the remake, and I won't watch the remake of Karate Kid either.
So the remake of Red Dawn is actually like really well shot and like just beautifully directed. Like I will, on a complete technical end, they surpassed what they were supposed to be doing. Yeah, the movie sucks. So you're doing all right.
I need to see C. Thomas Howell with the rocket launcher yelling Wolverines.
Yeah, there's also a big twist at the end of the remake. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who
I'm never gonna watch it.
But it's just who died at the end.
I mean, Superfly is a Cuban general in the original Red Dawn. It gets no better.
That's right.
Wow.
How do you not cry at the scene where they see their dad in the prison camp? You kids were just so damn little. Avenge me.
Damn, it looks like the good doctor's in. Are you there, Kuba?
Is this gonna be audio?
Yeah, that's fine. I have to let him in. Duh. Hey, Kuba, how you doing?
I mean, it's not great news, so I'm not going to say I'm doing.
Sorry to ask. Sorry to ask.
No, the situation. It's ironic because last week, when the Russian Foreign Ministry was still playing down the invasion fears and hyping up the sense that this is just Western hysteria, the Foreign Ministry spokesman was asked about the February 16th date and said, European wars rarely start on a Wednesday. And I checked the calendar. Guess what?
It's Wednesday. Is it summer?
Yes, precisely. And so it turns out that it was an even deeper troll than it first seemed.
Jesus.
And what Putin has announced is a military operation in eastern Ukraine. it's unclear what that means and what their ultimate war plans are. I think that given the amount of troops that were mustered and the strategic advantages that Russia enjoys, their army is specially designed for this kind of conflict. The Ukrainians use the same size rail gauge as Russia, which is a big deal because most Russian logistics for conventional military operations are rail based. So they'll be able to move quickly and under favorable conditions. And apart from those logistical, technical considerations, don't forget that they're invading a country whose language they understand. They can read the street signs. They're familiar with it. They can talk to people, and they don't need translators. It's not like the US and Iraq or Afghanistan. So they'll move quickly. I've heard reports that already an amphibious assault has landed troops in the port of Odessa, which is actually way on the western end of the country near the border with Romania. It's a heavily Russian city, so it's favorable terrain for Russian operations. And they've entered the city of Chernigov and are moving towards Kharkov. There have been missile attacks to ground air defenses and air bases in and around Kiev. So I hope that now that it's started, the best outcome would be that it happens quickly with minimum loss of life. And we'll see too how far Russia is inclined to press this invasion. There are territories which are soft and very attractive targets in the sense that they're not heavily defended and strategically valuable while having a population that would be most amenable to becoming part of Russia or a Russian occupation. And that includes the region around Odessa, the oblasts or provinces just north of Crimea and in the north and east of the country. The way that Putin characterizes the opposition in Ukraine, he keeps referring to the Kiev regime. And I would be surprised if he stopped short of going all the way to Kiev to end the conflict in a way that works with the narrative that he's presenting. The Kiev regime would need to go. And in the speeches that he's given to justify an attack on Ukraine, he's stressed that the Ukrainian heartland is a part of Russia, that it's a continuity of peoples and territory. If he's committed to Odessa, it's hard to see how he'll stop short of going all the way to Kiev. The lingering question, and for me a source of unease, is whether Russia will go into Western Ukraine, because the territory in the center, cities like Odessa, cities like Kharkov, Dnipro, Chernigov, are ones which have a heavy Russian presence, and until relatively recently had a population that was very ambivalent about their own national identity, whether they were Ukrainian or Russian. Since 2014, there's been a tendency for more and more people in those areas to say they're Ukrainian, but part of that could be pressure from the government. Part of that could be a reaction against the security situation, a feeling that Russia's pushed them into it. But in the western part, It is much more uniform and much deeper in its Ukrainian identity. So those are territories which could only be occupied and controlled with a high degree of repression and violence. It would be like the Brits in Ireland versus the Brits in Scotland. And if he's willing to go into an area where the population is so likely to be hostile and with a much shorter and shallower connection to Russian nationhood and history, then the implication would be that he's willing to deploy that kind of repression and force just for the sake of strategic depth in territory that he knows would be unfriendly and isn't that economically or strategically vital for Russia. So that for me would be a point where we go from a very serious security conflict with clear Russian interests and objectives to aggression against a people that where that occupation would be decidedly unwelcome and harsh. So we'll see what how the situation develops and what type of resistance the Ukrainian forces are able to mount against Russian advances. One thing that I think we can expect is that Western support won't take the form of a commitment of troops, but some support activities, weapons, materiel, cyber attacks. The British have already said that they're going to mount operations, internet operations against Russian military and government infrastructure. A move where NATO and Russian forces clash directly is not required by any agreement that the West has with Ukraine. And everybody understands that that kind of escalation would internationalize the conflict and pull in the United States and other NATO allies, where a broader, longer war would be inevitable. So I think that ultimately NATO will do what happened, do what they did with Georgia when the Russians similarly entered to support separatist enclaves in South Ossetia and Abkhazia, which is rhetoric, sanctions, but no direct military support.
And Kuba, have you seen the movie Better Off Dead?
How do you feel about Jon Cusack, a young Jon Cusack?
That guy was a hottie. Like
good take. Good take.
High fidelity. Although I realize that in retrospect it's problematic. But
well, wait till you see this movie.
Have you seen Better Off Dead, Kuba?
I have not.
I think you'd like it from our discussion of movies.
He can't watch it right now. He's got to watch.
I understand.
Got more important things.
He's got to watch.
I actually do have a serious question though. A while back, I heard Stephen Cohen talk about the history of the conflict. I think it was, if I remember correctly, the Georgian conflict with Russia, which we were kind of getting involved with, and he talked a lot about how this was a setup of after Clinton came into office, he started to move NATO into a lot of the former Soviet bloc, which the agreement with Bush and Yeltsin, if I remember correctly, was saying that they weren't going to be moving NATO into that region, and that's been like the starting of the escalation of tension that we've been seeing for the past 25 years or something like that. Now, I've only ever heard him say anything like that, to be honest with you. So I don't know how much of that is true, because I was also watching RT at the time. And I'm not, I'm not trying to say that to dismiss it, but I'm just saying, like,
there's a spin.
They're probably, there might have been a spin, but also at this same token, like, I've only ever heard one person talk about this, and I've never really done any, taken the time to research like any more of that. So I imagine that's probably, echoes of that might be bouncing around some parts of the left. And I didn't know if you wanted to take a moment to address any of that.
So I've been studying post-socialist and Eastern European and post-Soviet politics since I was an undergraduate in 1998. And
she was born then.
I was born in 97.
You're gonna be 25.
Yes, I'll be 25 this year.
Oh,
it's only February, dude.
Oh my god.
And I was an intern for the Atlantic Council in the Polish Ministry of Defense and the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2003, and it was Eastern European security studies were part of my PhD training as well. And Steve Cohen, absolutely correct. And in fact, he actually soft pedals what happened, which was that as the communist governments in Eastern Europe were collapsing, the question of what to do with Germany came up between George H.W. Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev at the time. And the deal that was struck was that a reunified Germany would stay in NATO, but there would be no eastward movement whatsoever. The former Warsaw Pact countries, like Czechoslovakia at the time, Poland, certainly not the Baltic states or Ukraine, none of those countries were to join NATO. In fact, in the most optimistic parts of the international diplomatic community, there was talk like, why should we have a NATO if there's no Soviet threat anymore? Maybe it should be wound down. And a parallel set of European security organizations, which included Russia as well as the post-socialist and post-Soviet countries, groups like the Organization for Cooperation and Security in Europe, were sprung up, which were supposed to be where, in this new world, new order, security questions are debated continent-wide with full participation by Russia. And the move to expand NATO to cover Poland, Czechoslovakia, the Baltic states, that was seen as a violation of that deal. Yeltsin was too weak to do anything about it, and a new red line was formed. Because the Baltic states were, I mentioned them, I listed them, but they were actually the next wave. The first wave was Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary. And when those countries were admitted to NATO, there was a new deal. Okay, we're gonna let you guys have these countries because they've always hated us. They never really belonged to the Russian space, but you're not going to admit any post-Soviet republics, meaning no Balts, no Ukraine, no Belarus, no Moldova, and no Georgia, Armenia, or Azerbaijan. And then Clinton renegotiated the deal again, unilaterally, right? We're letting the Balts in. What are you going to do about it? The another major watershed was the invasion of Kosovo and the NATO-led mission to allow it to break away from Serbia. Russia was the big international supporter of Serbia, and unlike Bosnia or Montenegro or Croatia or Slovenia, those were kind of province-level republics of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia falls apart, then they're entitled to independence, as much as Serbia. But Kosovo was always a part of Serbia. And for Russia, what the Serbs were doing in Kosovo was a purely internal affair, and you had to respect the sovereignty of Serbia. NATO led the mission because the UN Security Council would refuse to allow the use of military force against Serbia. In this case, Russia still had a veto. And that move demonstrated that there were no limits to what the United States could militarily do in Russia's backyard, and that there were no points where a Russian diplomatic voice would be taken seriously. Not at the UN, not in the OCSC, not in any of these organizations that were nominally supposed to look after Russian interests. And that was really the inflection point when even members of the kind of Western-oriented elite began to think of Westerners in the United States especially as something other than friendly. And that probably was a great historical turning point. And we're living with the consequences of that decision, as well as dozens of others that followed, in what's going on in Russia came to the conclusion that the only factor that impacted Western security and military decisions was hard power. And today we're seeing that hard power put into play against a much weaker, disorganized, and vulnerable country.
I just want to make clear for everybody who's watching the stream, I'm scrolling through Twitter and the hashtag Kiev. And so these videos, I have not verified each of these videos that they are in fact footage of what's happening right now there. But Kuba, what is, you mentioned amphibious vehicles and other stuff that you've got reports from, like, what else does this look like? What does this mean for people living in Ukraine? And well, this is rough.
It's a full-scale invasion, and ultimately how far it goes and how destructive and it gets will depend on the Russian war plans and the ability and willingness of Ukrainian forces to resist and engage. The city of Odessa, and I've seen multiple reports, some from news agencies in the region, of amphibious landings in Odessa. That area is lightly defended and will likely be easy to secure. Some of this will feel like a retread of Crimea, where the Russians meet little opposition and kind of can stake a claim with just the presence of their soldiers. The areas where the fighting is likely to get the most intense are the zones of the front line where Russian and Ukrainian forces have already been in contact through the separatist republics. That's where some of the most disciplined, highly trained, well-armed, and effective Ukrainian forces are located. So the notorious Azov battalion, but also other units made up of staunch nationalist Ukrainians are likely to slow the advance into Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast from the separatist republics. Russia, the reports I've heard are that there are movements into the northern city of Chernigov, and this is a second front being created from the northeast, which Chernigov is not particularly far from the city of Kiev either. It's one of the first major cities inside of the Ukrainian border, and at a point where the capital is quite vulnerable. So the biggest risk is that people get caught between opposing forces, and at the outskirts of Kiev, there's a high danger that the fighting will get quite destructive as Ukrainian forces attempt to defend the capital while Russians move in for one of the most significant objectives. The areas where the most effective and committed Ukrainian forces are also likely to see a great deal of devastation as both sides use heavy weapons to try to break each other. That's the area south of, to the southeast along the Black Sea coast. There was a city, a coastal city on the Sea of Azov, Mariupol, which was very badly damaged during team fighting. And people who can get away from especially the major rail arteries going into Kiev. And right now that the fighting started, it's unclear how much notice anyone in Ukraine will get before the arrival of military forces. If you can get away, then you should, but otherwise, try to stay low and out of sight. The risk isn't that civilians will be deliberately targeted. It's much more that in engaging one another, both Ukrainian and Russian forces can make a mistake or miscalculate and hit civilians in densely populated areas. That's the biggest risk. Of course, you shouldn't go to Ukraine right now if that was in your plans. And I hope that all of this can pass as quickly as possible with as little loss of life. I think that at this point, the Ukrainian government has to either retreat into Western Ukraine, or at least begin to plan such a retreat, or essentially capitulate. And frankly, I don't know which would be the wiser move, because it's unlikely how it's hard to see how the Ukrainian forces can withstand a directed Russian assault like this for long. So heavy, yeah.
Do you have people over there, Cuba?
After the Second World War, I had family that lived in Western Ukraine. Before World War II, it was part of Poland. After the war, it was cut into the Soviet Union, and any Polish people who had survived in that region were deported either into Poland or Kazakhstan. So my family, my aunt's family has an old house in the Ukrainian city of Yaroslav that was in their family before the war, but they have to cross the border to see it.
Wow.
So I mean, this region has a lot of history of violent conflict, and people can imagine it and think about it in more concrete ways than I think Americans could. But this is going to be a very difficult time, and it's also going to be a very risky time for many Ukrainian journalists, government officials, people in the public sector, and especially civilians that aren't related to government or defense. If they've written, journalists who've written articles critical of Vladimir Putin, or people that are publicly associated with what could be perceived as an anti-Russian side, should leave as quickly as possible.
I've invited our friend C. Derek Varn to join. He'll be here shortly. Man, I'm really sorry to hear all how that's affecting you personally, Cuba, and I can just only imagine just what this means for so many people all over the world. I mean, the chat's on fire right now, but Jason's got to get going here soon. I don't know if we want to wrap this up. This ain't even everybody's watching this on This Is Revolution. This ain't even my channel.
Do you want to keep going, Joe?
I mean,
you tell me what you want to do.
I'm okay to chat for a little while longer. If you got to get going now, I understand.
No. What I'll do is I'll turn my camera off so it'll keep streaming.
Cool.
So people can.
Sounds good.
Or we'll wrap this. Do you want people to go to your channel?
They can stay here. I mean, we don't have to go too much longer. But Varn is here. Hey, Varn, how you doing?
Oh shit!
Hi.
Yeah, things are going to get real.
All right. Thank you, Cuba.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. I mean, we like you here on the chat here with Varn and everybody else. But
I'm gonna call you Cuba. I'm gonna hit you up real quick. Is that cool?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Peace, guys.
I also have to head out. I'm sorry. It's getting towards midnight here, and
no worries. We maybe should just wrap this thing up, but I think we can maybe try to make a little sense of it. But thanks for being here. Let's just the bad takes has been over for a while now, but thanks for doing it, Rayyvana. It was fun meeting you and chatting about this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. All right, have a good rest of your show.
All right,
cool.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So Varn, you were getting into it, cutting it up in the chat. I don't know what Tassan's question was.
Cut up anything in the chat. I avoid certain kinds of discussions right now because I think we should limit ourselves to the facts at hand. I've been telling leftists in general that they don't need to have a hot take on everything before they have all the knowledge of the ground, and particularly the historical knowledge.
Yeah, good reason why I asked that question to Kuba when we had him. So
Kuba's the person to ask. I mean, I would have gone over many of the same things, but he knows more than me on Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And he has people on the ground there. I have some friends in Russia. I don't. Most of my friends in Ukraine got out after Maidan, so I don't really know what's going down there. I've been trying to watch China's response to this because it complicates China's policy on sovereignty. Obviously, they're not going to take the U.S. side, and clearly, NATO has been poking that bear for 30 years. At this point, I mean,
and if memory serves, please correct me if I'm wrong. But the Belt and Road Initiative was part of was that was going through Ukraine, if I remember correctly, or no?
It's part of that. There's also, I mean, there's the Nord 2, which complicates things. There's Russia's own energy security, which people have been talking as if Russia's concerns is either NATO or its own energy security, which to me is wild. They're related directly. But I'm trying to get a better feel for what's going on here. The rhetoric coming out of Putin has been a little wild in that yesterday he was bringing up the specters of Lenin and decommunization and the accurate actual portrayal of Ukrainian nationalism as actually form of Bolshevik policy. In fact, Stalin even defended it in 1921, turned against it slightly in 1928. But it was clearly a kind of slap in the face to any idea this was a reprise of a Cold War narrative. Today's using denazification rhetoric. I would also say that any source in the West should be read with some foreign language news sources in mind, but I would not also trust RT or any Russian sources either. Basically, you have to operate under fog of war assumptions and read like third parties who are not particularly attached to NATO. In English, that would be Irish, the Irish press. In other languages, you need to read Spanish or Chinese. China, like I said, clearly isn't going to take the U.S. and NATO's side on this, but their actual stance to what Russia is claiming is interesting because China takes a hard stance on national sovereign integrity, and for obvious reasons. Even if the geostrategic interest and the fears about U.S. interference are the same, the logic on this versus the logic on, say, Taiwan are actually the opposite. And so they're going to have a pretty hard time figuring out the line internally to China. And I'm trying to get a feel on where the other East Asian states are on this, if they have an opinion at all. That's my area of knowledge is not Eastern Europe. My area of knowledge is Latin America and Asia. So that's what I'm really trying to gauge what their responses is. Clearly, I mean, the one thing I would agree is I've been a big fan of Stephen Cohen. I was even at one point a financial supporter of the center, Stephen Cohen's Survival Center on Russian-American relations approval, which has not been listened to since 2005. I also emphasize that this is pretty consistent with what Putin warned the West of in his Munich speech 15 years ago, that if they were going to go down this path, that Russia would have to follow suit. And the other thing that we have to look at is all these major powers except China are actually in a weakened state, and in that turn, it is time for people to act. Russia's major developments have mostly been in the military. Its economy is still somewhat sclerotic, and I would say because of that, you really have to be when you. I don't know how else to say this, but you have a power that's been bullied by another power, and both powers are fading as far as their ability to influence the world. And Russia needs, the Russian strategic interest we should just look at objectively as trying to solidify its economic zone. And as NATO, pushes back on that and complicates its ability to deal with Europe, hard power is all it's going to have access to. We shouldn't have like moral readings of this. The all of these nation states, with the exception of China, which came out of a revolution, are effectively capitalist nation states. They are all making appeals to prior empires, frankly, and the actual situation as to what we should take about this is that we should hope that, and we should advocate for NATO staying the hell out of it, because frankly, for it not to, it risks a world war. And I think, I'm not one of those people who thinks that I don't believe that's Putin's goal. Russia is not an irrational actor, is not trying to start a world war. But, as to the results, if any NATO nation gets attacked or claims to be attacked, Article 5 goes into play. And both sides have mentioned that over and over and over again as a reminder that Article 5 being tripped is a world war that we basically avoided during the entirety of the Cold War. I mean, it would be the greatest fucking sad irony if that world war that we feel that like fueled the Cold War finally happens because of basically shit that was really pushed by both parties in the United States in the late 90s. Because that's what this mostly goes back to. This is likely to, the best case scenario is what this is similar to Georgia, but this is diplomacy by hard force. And for those you don't know, Georgia in 2008. That's the good scenario. The bad scenario is somebody acts irrationally, and does something to invoke Article 5, which I assure you, Putin would not do unadvisedly. Because, like I said, anyone who's trying to sell you that Russia is an irrational actor or wants to provoke a world war is basically, you should treat as a war hawk.
I think Putin knows exactly what he can get away with, and we're seeing it right now.
Right, and frankly, we should know that the U.S. is in no place to do much about it. Because to do something about it, let's be frank here, puts the two most nuclear armed powers on the planet back at odds with all of our, albeit half faded and nuclearly depleted, and that's maybe even more unstable arms just sitting there from the 80s that we haven't even really been thinking about this entire last 25 years.
Yeah, man. I'm within miles of Vandenberg, where they've been testing these this shit where they say they don't have any, but we all know they do.
The one thing I would also say is we're not, because of the current sitting president and because how weak Biden is, and we should be we should be very clear-eyed about how weak the Democrats appear on all fronts right now. This is actually a really dangerous time period. AOC split the baby post on Twitter, and I don't think people should be looking at Twitter for shit right now, but if you're gonna follow,
maybe videos, but yeah,
videos maybe. I mean, look at videos, compare and contrast, but no, also
and then some of those videos aren't always today.
So, but I was gonna say, but videos have been manipulated before. That's not my point. My point is AOC today was like talking about the need for further sanctions and mentioning that any military action should be voted on by Congress, which I know is a split the baby move. It's supposed to remind the presidents not to invoke Police Powers Act, which is how all wars have happened since the Police Powers Act was passed, ironically, when the U.S. joined the UN. And then the attempt to limit the Police Powers Act in the 70s actually made it even easier for presidents to basically lock the United States down in war because Congress won't pull funding to troops, even though they have the power to do so once they've been deployed. So again, this is why electoralism has strong limits, because a lot of these reforms actually accelerate the things they are supposedly supposed to fix. But I say this because it's clear to me that it's clear to me that you're not going to be able to rely on the squad or any of that shit to be a voice of reason in Congress right now, and people should have no illusions about that. I mean, because they're going to split the baby like they have on all this stuff, and splitting the baby at this point is effectively capitulating to U.S. policy. That said, Biden has said that they can't commit troops on the ground, and I hate to be this crass and cynical about politics, but they also realize it would not help them in the midterms to be in a very unpopular war in a highly divided country with a weak president, and when they're already slated to lose really bad. And I don't. I mean, we're in a strange time, actually, when Candace Owens, for completely cynical reasons, might be actually posting takes that are actually correct on the history of NATO, whereas AOC is splitting the baby, and the Democrats are like. I saw some Democrat adjacent lawyer today trying to argue that the conservatives aiding saying nice things about Putin was a violation of Article 3 in the Constitution, which is treason, which would require, I mean, it was just wild they would even pretend that, because it requires like prove that it led to 2 direct American deaths and a formal declaration of war to count as an enemy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you can see all these kinds of, you literally see a section of the Democrats picking up the playbook that we saw from the Republicans in 2001, 2002, 2003, with category expansions about treason and whatnot. So, I mean, we should be worried.
Sounds like a Seth Abramson tweet thread or something.
So yeah. I think really importantly too, before we really wander from this right here, what should we be doing right now? Like what actions is leftists besides thinking about stuff, but like what organizations, what protests, how should we be petitioning?
Can I be like completely frank for a minute? You can't do shit about this.
There's really nothing we can do.
I understand that, but it does feel good to get out there and protest sometimes. And I think that
I think we should also look that in the last week, all right, we had protesters get shot at.
Yep.
To achieve what?
Yeah.
Like, we are not in an environment where even protesting does much but draw a target on your chest. Mm-hmm. I mean, I say this as a person, I know it feels good to protest. I mean, like, I remember going out to some of the largest protests in 2001, 2002. I'm old, right? But, like, those didn't do a damn thing. And, you know, what I would say, what people should be doing, other than thinking, would be to, I don't know. I mean, the foreign policy is the area in which public opinion is one of the least, has some of the least sway too. I mean, it's like imperialist wars haven't been popular in the United States like since 2 years after 9/11. That didn't end them. But what should we do? I think right now you should be really pressuring anyone who's a Democratic person in Congress with a real threat of withholding your vote, even if it means a Republican winning, if they vote for this war. And you need to get large groups of people to do it. But the thing is, I don't trust the social democratic left to do that. You know, I mean, like, I don't want to like bring up a bunch of bad blood, but after the Jamal Bowman thing, I don't trust that the people will hold their elected officials to any formal initiative or anything. And we also have this weird problem with the Democrats who cynically during the Trump administration started mainlining anti-Russian agitprop. And I say this as a person who was also bothered in the early 2000s, back in the early Obama days when people were really trusting Russia Today as a news source for anything outside of the United States. It's actually good on RT is actually pretty good on the U.S. because, you know, if you're going to hit your geopolitical enemy with something, it's best to hit them with something true. But like they would trust them on other things like what Russia was actually trying to do, and that used to bug me. But watching some people who did that in their early 20s and their but during their resistance phase, 5 years ago, becoming diehard anti-Russia stands, that I think that's important. But I also think we shouldn't any view we have of Russia and Russian ambitions need to be hemmed in with the idea that this is Russia is not the USSR. We are not dealing with a socialist or even an aspirationally socialist state. That NATO should not be encroaching on it for reasons that have nothing to do with the morality of Russia. And I mean, it's not even like with the CPC or the People's Republic of China, where you could argue that there's an anti-capitalist project going on. That's not the case with the Russian Federation. So we should be very cautious in how we defend Russia domestically against war. That's what I think we should be doing. And I also think, aside from protesting and writing your congressperson, and by the way, if you don't mean it, don't do it. Like you actually have to be willing to let a Republican win. Which is not an easy thing to say. And if you're in a district and area, I mean, look, we're dealing with a day where there's 1,000 fires at once. Abbott's thing in Texas happened today, where basically
nuts.
Transition's been declared, like he's declaring that under Texas law, transitioning is child abuse, and they're not just going to go after the parents, but also anyone who doesn't inform, because by declaring it child abuse, you have to inform on people involved. So that's happening right now. We're barely over people taking idiotic stances one way or another in the trucker convoy situation.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if anything, I would say, write to your congressperson. I not because I believe electoralism is going to work here, but if you have any leverage electorally, it is to deny them your vote. And then be very realistic about how you advocate for this, because we have to be honest that, like, NATO has been and will continue to be a threat to world peace, regardless of what we think about the states it's threatening. And with Russia, Russia's economy is energy based, and since the dip in about 10 years ago, its economy is about the size of Italy. It needs a safe zone. We've actually been pushing people into its trading zone by sanctioning them, like Belarus example. So sanctions are likely to actually make parts of Eastern Europe more dependent on the Russian economy. And they're also likely to try to replicate the Cold War situation, pushing Western Europe back into the kind of, what our friends Danny and Derek over at American Prestige would say, the transatlantic superstate that really kind of exists here. The other thing I think we should be looking out for is, what is Macron and Xi doing? Because those, like, France has no interest in NATO actively taking up competition with Russia. Macron has made that very clear. And Xi has no interest in things getting completely out of hand either. And so we should be following that. But I wish I could tell you there was more to do, but I don't see it right now.
Yeah, this thing is bigger than it's bigger than any one individual. I mean, this has been a long time coming, just based on all the things that we've talked about here. It's still kind of harrowing and a little terrifying, but it's like, what can we do? Especially as podcasters or whatever the fuck. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think. I guess my closing thought, and I'm going to shut the fuck up, is that things right now are a domino, and we actually do have to accept that some of this is out of our control, and that we're going to have to start gearing up to deal with rolling with things that are out of our control. And I think in the imperial core, we have long since forgotten that.
It's part of why people responded so poorly to this pandemic, to this crisis.
Right.
We ain't used to this kind of thing.
I will say energy prices are going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so people are talking about that. Like, I just saw that, like, bent bent crude oil now is selling for $100 a barrel again. So, and there will be all kinds of profiteers on all sides over this shit. And I suspect when we're already in a period of what looks to be kind of, well, it's not quite technically stagflation, because stagflation usually implies layoffs, but prices rising to recoup any workers' gains so fast that it looks pretty bad. And with the Fed and the reserve banks around the world all gearing up to raise interest rates, I mean, like, the amount of dominoes right now are just getting more and more expensive.
You're Varn pilling us again. The Varn pill is hitting.
I think the conclusion we really need to land on is: have you seen Better Off Dead, and would you recommend it to our viewers?
Yes, I have, and it's good.
You like Jon Cusack? You're a Jon Cusack fan. That's what this podcast. If anybody here, I just want to say thanks again to Jason for pairing our tiny little podcast, Bad Takes, me and Jay Andrew World's tiny little movie podcast, leftist movie podcast, where we watch not so great or forgotten bad movies or whatever. This one wasn't that bad, but I want to thank Jason for. Yeah, it was a fun one. Thanks to Jason for he was our guest, and then he also paired a show, and pretty much all our audience right now is his. So that's why you see I'm practically the same color as the walls behind me, as you can see, but that's why you're seeing all us on here and not him. He had to duck out, but we're gonna wrap this thing up. That started as a movie podcast, and then Kuba called, and then I wanted to get Varn in here to chat about it. But thanks for joining us, Varn, and talking to us about that.
Thank you guys, because I'm not going to talk about this on my own channel, except to give people a history on it. I had Dr. Harun Yamez to talk about the nationalisms and Ukraine. And we were actually not going to talk about Ukraine. I scheduled this 2 months ago. I was trying to give people some understanding for what happened in the Soviet situation, for what may happen in the future. And while the May became, hey, it's happening, motherfucker. And I was like, oh shit. But yeah, I'm not going to be talking about it there because I don't want to be part of the hot take industry and what could become a live war.
That's a very reasonable. That's what we come to expect from C. Derek Varn. Thank you, Varn, the smartest guy in the room as always. But
not Cooper was today on this. Let's be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's also
y'all weren't in the room at the same time.
My first question to him was the whole issue of the history of it. So, that was kind of good. I'd like to see. I'm glad we got that out there because that history does need to be talked about a bit, and I don't think the right people are talking about it.
No, please God, don't get your news from Axios or something right now. like read Reuters if nothing else. Like
Vox has an explainer though, man. Like what's Vox has a history of Ukraine.
Oh man,
this is rough.
Yeah, some of those things are actually not inaccurate. They're just spun in subtle ways, which actually makes them even harder to deal with. But anyway,
I will say their graphic design stuff, when they do the history of graphic design, spot on for Vox. So, good on them for that. But
oh my God. And if y'all don't know Jay Andrew World, also co-host of the Movie Night Extravaganza, which we're paired with that one too. We're paired like crazy right now. If y'all don't know me, I'm Joe Payne. I'm just a random I don't know what you call it. I'm on hiatus right now with my main show, Political Pain. You can find me on Twitter at Political Pain. But I was just a local journalist who started doing my own kind of shit on YouTube, and then start talking to all these crazy commies like C. Derek Varn and Jason Myles and all of them. And this kind of shit is. I'm really glad to be having conversations like this. So, you guys want to call it a night?
Yeah, I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
All
right.
I
think my wife is wanting me to shut off the lights. So,
of course, hopefully there's better news in the mañana. And Toussaint, thank you for the compliment on my eyebrows. They are fantastic, aren't they? But no more jokes. We're gonna take a night. And thanks again to Jason for hosting us here on the This Revolution channel as well. So we'll see you guys around. Have a good night. All right. Stay safe.
Keep Donald ducking it.
Oh.